As some of you may or may not already know, today we will be interviewing John McAfee, chat, which is
I'll give it one more try.
Quite interesting, I'd say.
Let me move
Hello.
on. Hello?
Hello. Hello, John.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me, John?
I can't see you.
So I currently don't have a... I'll be using my camera, but it'll be only for my viewers right now because it's on a different computer, if that's okay with you. Can you deal with just audio?
Well, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, what you're saying is that you and your audience will be able to see and hear me, but I will only be able to hear you. Do you
Correct.
realize what a disadvantage that puts me at? I mean, because this has nothing to do with me and your audience. This has to do with me and you, my friend.
True.
I mean, I'm talking to you, and I can't fucking see you. Now,
Okay.
as far as I know, you don't even goddamn exist, because I know for a fact there are voice synthesizers capable of producing a sound equivalent to what I'm hearing through these fucking earbuds.
Oh. Hello?
And as far as I know, you are the CIA sitting in an office in Washington with 100 people in the background, all crowding around, looking at the fucking screen. But yes, I will continue this if you wish me as your guest to be so disadvantaged. I notice you're not even goddamn recording this. You should be. I'm just saying.
It is. It's being recorded. It is currently live and is being recorded. So,
but it's not being
worry
recorded on Zoom. I see. You've got some kludge going. I understand that shit.
Don't worry. It'll be going up to YouTube afterwards. There is a recording being made. It's happening right now. So just not through Zoom.
I do believe you. I understand. There are many people who cannot afford a Samsung S10, for example, that has everything in one little device, and I do understand that. So you probably spent a total of $30, maybe $35 on your system. That's okay with me.
It was
I didn't even have a decent goddamn microphone until I bought this motherfucker, because anything else, if I move back and forward, my voice goes in and out. So I do understand technology. Anyway, I will go ahead and accept my disadvantaged position here, because in spite of it, I think I will still maintain my own. So let's start.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you accepting said disadvantage, and I do apologize for not having it set up for you in advance. But yeah, I guess we'll just get right into it then. First of all, I just want to ask if you can tell us like what country you're in right now. I don't know if you're.
You lost.
Okay, that was a joke. That was a joke.
I have spent 7 months giving out disinformation and hiding from authority. Jesus God, in July, Janice and I were in a fucking jail in the Dominican Republic with the authorities saying, you have to go back to America. Not happening. Before that, we were in Cuba. Cuban authorities, we'd been there a month and a half, they called Janice and I in and said, the U.S. government has unofficially requested your return to America. If we do so, they will give us concessions, as if that will never fucking happen with Cuba. They said, we're disinclined to do so. You've got 72 hours to leave the country, which we did. Went to the Dominican Republic, requested. Prior to Cuba, we were in the goddamn Bahamas. They tried to collect us. We got out of town 6 hours before the SWAT team arrived. Good God, you think I'm going to tell you where I am?
I will admit it was
not without a blank check and a guarantee that whatever amount I'm able to squeeze in on that check is going to be valid. If you want to promise me that, I might tell you.
All right. Well, fair. So speaking of locations, I noticed you tweeted recently that one of the countries you couldn't go to in Europe was Ireland. And personally, I'm from Ireland, so I was just wondering is there a specific reason as to why you can't go
Yes,
there?
good
What is
God
the
Almighty, people.
educate us?
First of all,
Educate us.
yes, first of all, you're English speaking as well as Gaelic, but English. Um, whether you like it or
You piece of
not,
shit.
you
You
are
fucking goddamn fucker. Listen.
legally part of England. And England is America's closest friend.
Mm-hmm.
Good God, if America wants me, how easy will it be to collect me from England or one of its territories?
Fair answer. So, one more question. This one is pretty serious, John. Marijuana. How hard is it to find when you're constantly on the move?
Well, it depends on the country that you're in. If you're in the Caribbean, you can't avoid it. I mean, people shove it in your shirt pockets on the streets. I mean, that's how liberal it is. If you're where we are currently, and I will say, we are almost inside the Arctic Circle.
Okay.
Marijuana is like gold nuggets up here. I'm just saying.
I would imagine.
We have to bribe, beg, sometimes coerce. In all seriousness, there are no roads coming here. You're not going to believe this. The last 18 hours of getting here is by fucking dog sled. So you tell me how easy you think it is to get marijuana here. No, it's not easy. And if you have any and you can't get it to me, I don't fucking want to hear about it, right?
Well, that's pretty goddamn impressive, I must say. 18 hours by dog sled to get some fucking weed. That's dedication, sir. I admire it.
Not that we don't get it. I'm not saying we don't get it, okay? But
I don't doubt that.
It requires jumping through hoops that you've never fucking imagined. That's the one negative. The positive is ain't nobody ever going to find us. That much is absolutely certain. So you take the good with the bad.
Well, I most certainly hope they don't find you, John. So I want to move into crypto, of course, the basis of conversation that we're to talk about here. And just like the general landscape right now. So as you and I both know, it seems like it's been years now of crypto and it's still being used just for trading for profit, quick short-term gains, yada, yada, yada. No one wants to hold on to their currency. No one wants to actually like spend it on goods and services.
Yes.
And I want to ask you, how do you think we can change the minds of people to actually start adopting them for use and not for short-term gains and short-term profits?
You know, in the end, the short-term or even the long-term gains and profits are going to even out if people understand, no, this is not a panacea for getting rich quick. I mean, yeah, for some people early on, yeah, but no, it's not happening. And then wake up to this reality. Cryptocurrency, specifically privacy coins, meaning coins that can't possibly be traced. Now, you think
Monero, Apollo.
Bitcoin or Ethereum or private bullshit. You give me an Ethereum wallet or a Bitcoin wallet and say, hi, I'll do this for you for $60. And I send you $60 from that point on. I can see every fucking thing that comes into your wallet and from whom and goes out of your wallet and to whom. I mean, if your bank did that, people,
yeah, you just wouldn't do business with them. No. Absolutely not. Hell no.
Of course not. So privacy coins like Monero, and really, I'm sorry to say, there's only one, and that is Monero.
Right.
If you go onto the dark web and you want to buy anything, I don't care whether it's a pair of sneakers or a hitman or some illegal drugs from Russia, you can't pay for it in anything except Monero. Why? Can't be traced.
Yeah, an actual private coin.
If you use Monero on a distributed exchange, well, then people, you have some freedom that you've never dreamed. You never have to pay taxes again. Why? Because no one, including your government, knows what your income was or what your expenses were.
Right. And I mean,
Which
if you're
is
not
why
using their currency, you're not beholden to their
you're not beholden.
tax. Yeah.
Which is why I'm on the run and Janice is on, because I go onto national stages, on podcasts, on my Twitter account, and I say what I just said.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to pay taxes? Don't. Governments do not like that. And the US government likes it least of all. So we're on the run because I tell the truth. And I am, according to our US government, I am conspiring with those whom I talk to commit tax fraud by telling you what I just told you.
Right.
So fucking be it, people. And you think that's going to stop me? It never has. I mean, any arrest and whatever, I've been arrested more times I can count. I don't care. I won't shut up. I'm telling you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is the most dangerous of all things to tell. I'm telling you now.
That certainly seems to be the case these days. But yeah, so it is interesting how basically the only real currency in use right now is really just for illegal activities. And I'm just kind of hoping that it starts to, drip into actual spaces,
It is.
Yeah.
Let's listen to you. It's not just you. There are tens of thousands of us people who don't use dollars, yens, British pounds, Chinese yuan. No, we don't touch it. We don't need to. When I work for a company, you better goddamn pay me in Monero. When I buy something, you better be able to sell it to me in Monero. And there is nothing that you need in order to survive that you can't buy with Monero.
Although I will say you're in quite a...
clothes, cards, you name it. Now, the unfortunate thing is you can't go down to your local coffee shop, buy a cup of coffee.
Exactly.
Is that such a severe fucking sacrifice? I don't think so. Not for the freedom that you get. There are tens of thousands of us. Me, Rock Pierce, Roger Fair. Tens of thousands. We have created a new economic reality out of cryptocurrency. Good God, you out there that want some freedom, come over.
Start using, I guess.
Side, come to our side and fucking join us. Join us.
Well, there you go. So, moving on from that, what do you think the crypto landscape, well, still staying in tune with it, of course, what do you think the landscape looks like in, say, 10 years from now, right? When we've got, say we do have people actually using it, what do you think how do you think the coins will align themselves?
10 years from now, everything will have changed. I mean, there
absolutely.
won't be any fiat currencies in 10 years.
No, you think?
No. Governments will have diminished dramatically. Why? They're not going to be able to collect the taxes to spend on the garbage that they're spending on now. We're going to have people in collectives around the world, places like Malta, Turkey, others that see what's coming down the pike and open their doors for it rather than fight it. We will be there waiting for you. And instead of tens of thousands of us not using fiat currency, there will be millions of us.
So, but how do you think these coins will work? Do you think it will just, each currency will sit in their respective categories? So like Monero will be the privacy coin, say a certain coin for value, specifically like holding like a bank.
Look at Jesus God. If you want a holding, go to a stable coin like DAI.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
DAI never varies more than 1%
Yeah.
on the U.S. dollar. They go, oh, what happens if the U.S. dollar? Well, fuck that shit. You're talking about getting out into the dollar. Well, fuck that. No, don't get out of crypto at all. Convert to DAI. That's what everybody does. Some people who are not concerned about privacy just use DAI as their means of transferring funds. I mean, listen, I have people who work for me, and let's name a few. Okay, a lot of money. One of the greatest goddamn artists on the internet. The Challenge House in Australia. I never met these people. I pay them in DAI. Why? I don't give a shit if anybody knows what I'm paying them.
Right.
I'm paying them to doing work. But frequently, I just convert from DAI to Monero and then pay the people or receive the money that we do think is private or should be.
Right. So, and another particular crypto project I want to ask you about briefly, because it seemed quite promising and then sort of disappeared somewhat, is the Skycoin project. And I know you had a bit of an involvement with that. I don't know if you can talk about it at all, like as to what happened.
I mean, it's like
obviously not a fun topic for you, but
it's not. And it's because frequently great ideas, great strategies, great plans,
promising white papers
they come to nothing, because in the implementation of them arise issues that you could never have anticipated. Problems, impossibilities, barriers. This is what happened to Skycoin.
So overly ambitious.
Great idea. It was overly ambitious, and I was overly
enthusiastic.
Accepting of those ambitions. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's fair, because I know when I first saw it, I found it very promising too. But since it's kind of disappeared into ether.
I mean, the idea.
Yeah, great. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first truly distributed internet. Implementing it turned out to be far harder than one would have imagined.
For sure. Do you think there's a possibility of a distributed internet in the near future by someone else? It kind of has to happen, right?
It has to happen.
It has to, yeah.
But what has to happen first is a fundamental change in the technology of communication. That has not happened yet.
Right.
And it does. Trust me. The world will change, but not today. Not today.
So this fundamental change in communication you're talking about, is that derivative of like privacy, like a foundation on privacy?
It has to be a derivative of privacy, and it has to be a derivative of local communication.
Right.
And the science of mesh nets. Mesh nets, what is that? Well,
like peer-to-peer.
I've got a neighborhood here with 100 people, and we're all fucking communicating perfectly, faster than the internet, more beautiful, more private.
Right.
However, a neighborhood in another country, we can't reach. That's the problem.
Right. Carrying the mesh across waters.
Yes, carrying that mesh across a border, whether it be the border of one town to the next,
right,
or one country to the next. Here is the problem that came up with Skycoin. As we dug into the details of implementation, the technology just was not there yet.
Right.
It will be. Oh, I fucking promise you. It will be. But not today. Not today.
Yeah, so this actually reminds me of a project that you previously had, which was a smartphone. I know you'd made some stuff about trying to make a private smartphone. I know you're groaning, and I can already tell it's because of the principles we're talking about right now. Phones we have are just completely non-private, right? There's just no way we can make the current phones.
We can't have them. Janice and I don't own phones.
Yeah, how could you?
How could phones, we would be arrested within minutes. Please understand this.
Mm-hmm.
They are the ultimate spy device. They tell people where you are within 10 feet, what you're doing, who you're communicating with, what you said, what you wrote,
Mm-hmm.
what you planned to buy, what you're searching for on the internet, every fucking thing about you. And if you don't own one, those in power are helpless to either find you or know anything about you other than what's happening right here, right now, with this Zoom interview. Yes, they're listening, but who cares? It's a public fucking address.
Mm-hmm.
What they don't know is where Janice and I are.
Right.
As long as that remains unknown, I may speak freely and tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the American government can suck eggs for all I fucking care.
I'm gonna have to quote you on that one, John. Beautiful, beautiful. So, yeah, speaking of
We have time for
disinformation.
one more question, my friend. We have
Okay.
time for one more question.
Okay, perfect. So disinformation. I know you spend a lot of time putting things out there. You've had various different debacles, such as like telling people that you had relationships with whales, which honestly, it worries me that people believe that at all, but however.
Doesn't it worry me?
So, like, how much do you think that your average person who wants to live a relatively private life going forward, how much do you think disinformation is going to play a part in the data landscape? Like, will people purposely be spoofing various parts about their lives in order to...
You have to, people.
Right, I think it's a necessity now.
If you own a smartphone, you have no more privacy. You can pretend as long as you want that, yes, I'm using a Signal and it's encrypted. Bull fucking shit. There is no encrypted communication that works. Why? Encryption is for the man in the middle listening to a transfer. There isn't anybody in the middle anymore. It's all on your fucking phone. They're watching what you type before it's encrypted. And after it's encrypted, they're watching what shows up on your screen. Wake up. So no, you don't have privacy. Given that, how do you survive? We must survive by selective, clever, sophisticated, and well thought out disinformation, so that those who are listening can get the private jokes between Mrs. McAfee and myself, can get the context of my communication with you and with the people listening.
Right.
To understand that requires thought. So this overwhelming snooping, the society of surveillance which we live in is going to create two different classes. One, those smart enough to, in spite of universal surveillance, smart enough to evade detection and understanding. And those who aren't. And we're going to have two distinct species in a few hundred years. Those clever enough to survive surveillance and those who are not. And thank you very much for having me on.
John, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you giving time to talk about the various things that we just talked about. And who knows, maybe we'll be talking again in the future. Maybe with my face involved.
Working out with my boss at the Mrs. McAfee. She tells me what I'm supposed to do and when. That's all I know about the world. All right?
Okay. Thank you so much, John.
You're welcome.
Take care. Well, goddamn, chat.